Hello, this is Dread, and in today's video topic, we are going to be going over Black Hole Ignite Sorcerer. So, with the changes to Mage in general, this patch, there has been a buff to Sorcerer in general with the node inside Black Hole. It changed from just giving you 100% ignite chance per second, I believe, to 10% ignite chance per 1% uncapped fire resistance. What does this mean? This means that if you have about 400% fire res, it means that you'll be igniting 40 times per second with Black Hole. Now, of course, this does not really seem like that many ignites per second, but you gotta remember, Black Hole has some of the largest more damage modifiers in the entire game, and almost all of them apply to the ignites stacked. This means that, sure, our ignites, we don't have that many, but they hit really, really hard. Also, as well, I remember specifically myself saying that Rune Master is better than Sorcerer in every single way. It is, except for one specific thing. There is one specific thing that Sorcerer actually does better than Rune Master, and that is Ignite Duration. There is a large, fat chunk of Ignite Duration in the upper half of the Sorcerer tree, meaning that any Ignite build that you play on Sorcerer will have Ignites that last well over 4 or 5 seconds each, which is crazy. This got a little bit worse with the helmet being released. I can't remember its name, but it'll pop on screen. But with that Ignite helmet being added to the game, it means that you get a little bit less Ignite duration overall in comparison to your Rune Master brother. But overall, yeah, Ignite turns out to be really strong, especially when you use Conflagrate to triple your damage for the pops. Like I said, this will get removed one day. Now, I want to talk about something else. I usually don't really talk about what happens behind the scenes much. I'm very much just like always upfront, businessy kind of guy. But of recent, at least trying to level this sorcerer up, it has been an absolute challenge, I will say. And why is that? Well, for a couple of reasons. The first thing off, I try to play a elemental damage over time spell version for Black Hole. Now, if you don't know, EHG buffed Black Hole. They buffed its base damage from about like 120% added damage effectiveness per second to about 300% added damage effectiveness per second. Sadly, even with the insane multipliers inside Black Hole's tree, even with the insane amount of flat now with the buff, you still were only getting around 50k ticks on the dummy, and that is absolutely unplayable on a skill that has a 4-second cooldown. So, of course, I had to scrap that. So that was about a good half a day, about a day of work getting removed from my life. So that wasn't fun. Uh, then, of course, after that, I tried Wrong Warp Meteor. So essentially, the idea is we're going to teleport with Wrong Warp setup, and of course, we'll cast Meteor with the new traversal stuff. And overall, it did very pathetic amounts of damage. We were hitting with 3 meteors, which were all hitting for 300k each. And that sounds great and all, but until you realize that you have to wait 4 seconds for your, next cast a meteor, because of course how long teleport's cooldown is when you want to have that free spell. This kind of just ruined my mood a lot in general. So, of course, after that, I wanted to play something I knew that would work, which would be Black Hole Ignite. Now, Black Hole Ignite, it does a little bit more damage than, like, would you say, a Glyph of Dominion build, but a Glyph of Dominion build has significantly larger AoE. I'm talking like multiple magnitudes larger AoE than Black Hole ever could achieve, which is kind of the problem with Black Hole. And that was so bad, in fact, when I was playing with it, like the AoE was so unbelievably bad. My clear was so unbelievably bad that I was about to just delete my sorcerer. But my dear friend, we have found a bone. Yes, yes, we have. That is because of the fact that recently, like I said, with Sorcerer, when you grab the damage node, the ignite node, it will remove the pull on Black Hole, making it so your Black Hole doesn't really pull enemies in. because we need that 80% duration to actually make our black hole do damage. But guess what? We can use Flame Reave instead. Yes, Flame Reave has a pull in it. And if you grab the ring that makes your Flame Reave into an area, you can actually pull a large majority of the screen into your black hole AoE. And it works just like old black hole. And it ends up just functioning, which is crazy to me. I'm very surprised that this was able to make it function. And of course, for single target, what we do is we swap out, Flame Reave for Black Hole, because Black Hole gives us a massive 75% fire penetration global, which makes it so that you don't have to run fire penetration on any of your gear, right? At all. No fire pen whatsoever, because they removed ignite effects. So now you only stack fire pen. But Craterborn gives you all that fire pen, so you don't have to craft any of it. You just swap over to Meteor on a single target, and you're good to go for single target. So that's going to be it for the intro here. If you haven't already, I'd heavily suggest leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel, as that's the best way of supporting me, as it helps the numbers. Now let's go in game and talk about the. All right, here we are in game with the Sorcerer. So let's go over the skills. So for Black Hole here, we take 3 points travel into Catalyst, 1 point into Red Giant, 3 points travel into Flaming, 5 points into Heat Wave. This is our build around. We have a lot of fire res, as you can tell, which means that the more fire res we build, the more damage we get on enemies, which is great. Then we grab Binary System for that fat 100% more damage modifier. Also, as well, it does increase the generic area that Black Hole hits in, so it's great for area as well. Then we take 1 point travel into time dilation, and we take 4 points into rifts. This used to make Black Hole do less damage, but now it does not. And that 80% recovery speed is absolutely insane. Makes it so that the skill is actually playable. Then we take 3 points into Umbral Core, then eventually put the rest of our points into Event Horizon, and all of that combined makes our Ignites do a lot of damage. Then for Meteor here, we just have 5 points into Craterborn. The rest of it doesn't matter except for Aftermath. We just really care about that fire penetration, lots of extra damage. Then the other skill that we use on a bar, so we flip between these two. This is for clear, and then black meteor is for single target. Flame Reave here, and as this specifically this node flame color, so that the Flame Reave returns to you, and then 1 point to Infernal Calling, which then pulls enemies on return. This means for a clear, we just pop it down and then pull an enemy in, and bam, they get hit by the black hole. And most of the time, most enemies die within 1 tick of the black hole ticking them, which is great. Then we grab some cooldown recovery speed. We grab the range because that increases the range at which the thing goes out to pull enemies in, so that increases the area. Then 1 point specifically in Dancing Flames for a little bit less mana cost. If you try to add more points to this, it will start to make the AoE very small, so do not do that. And now, just so you know, we do require a Sun Wreath to make this function. A Sun Wreath will make it so that the pull back in, right? This stuff, the pull back in, will actually work properly because it makes it into an AoE. That is because the AoE node inside the tree, Worldfire, makes the range significantly smaller, which ruins the whole skill. So do not touch this node. Just simply run a Sun Wreath and abuse that instead. Now, this does roll up to 4 mana costs instead of 10. You generally want to be heading for that, as that will allow you to sustain, Flame Reave's mana costs better. Then, of course, your stereotypical Conflagrate enchant weapon. We just want Conflagrate, the more damage, the internal flames, and everything else doesn't matter too much. Then for Flame Ward, it's your stereotypical Flame Ward tree, except 3 extra points to infusion, because I got a bunch of plus levels to Flame Ward thanks to Apex of Thought and Cinder Song. And that's it for the skills. Now let's talk about the passives. So the passives that we really care about is anything that gives us any amount of fire res. So we grab Arcanus here, we grab Elemental Res here, we take Arcane Shielding here so that we get up to Enchant Weapon and we take less damage when we're in Monoliths, which is great, right? Then in Rune Master, we just grab as much HP as possible, the less damage taken here. We just care about these two nodes because we just want as much HP as possible with this build. Of course, in Sorcerer itself, just trying to climb up to the later nodes, get this Leech and this Pen here, the Ignite duration here is insanely strong. And here as well, this is like 52%, 56% increased ignite duration overall, which makes ignite on Sorcerer actually viable. Then, of course, we get even more elemental res here, then cooldown recovery speed, and that's all we really care about in Sorcerer. And then we grab the rest of Rune Master because the Rune Master passives are actually good. So we grab the Rune Master passives after this. And that's pretty much it for the passives. Now, for the blessings, real quick. Void res here. Void res makes it so that we have more room to put fire res on our gear. Here, we'd want eventually we want lightning res, so we have more room to put fire res on our gear. As you can see, there's a bit of a theme going on here. Crit avoidance, so that we can put more fire res on our gear, of course. And then here we put fire res and spirits of fire eventually. And then in Age of Winter, we probably go for block and block effectiveness. I didn't have time to push these blessings, mainly because I just haven't really had the time because this build has been a problem and a lot of other stuff has been problems as well. So I haven't really had the time to actually push this character properly. So let's talk about gearing now. For idols specifically, I just care about life, res, and whatever allows you to run as much fire res on your gear as possible. And you can also get life and fire res idols. Eventually, in a perfect world, we would be stacking as many life and fire res idols as humanly possible, which would be wonderful, of course. For a helmet, running Apex of Thought because it gives us a massive 51% increased duration to our ignite, and I got crit avoid on it, which was great. Running a breeding heart because we need some kind of source of sustain, and this is our best in slot sustain. The bleeds don't really do that much damage to us, so we don't really care. We just mainly want the leech. I am running a Cinder Song. Why am I running a Cinder Song, and why am I not running a Throne? Why am I not running the Spreading Flames scepter? So the problem with Firestar's Torch, it requires you to hit the enemy to apply Spreading Flames. I am playing a build that does not hit much. I do not hit much. On my single target situation, I just cast this, and then I walk around while the enemy dies slowly, right? That's what I do. That's all I do for my build. The problem is, since I'm doing that, I don't actually hit the boss enough to apply the throne stacks or apply spreading flames. So in favor of that, we went with Cinder Song instead. Cinder Song ends up being just as much damage, and we also get +1 to fire spells, which gives us +1 to black hole, which black hole levels are really strong because it allowed me to grab stuff like Event Horizon, which is almost enough to make up for the damage we were losing from the spreading flame scepter, and we never got our throne stacks on single target anyways, so that wasn't really much of a loss. Then our helmet and our chest here, you have life. Eventually, maybe you want to try to get like fire res, like sealed or something like that. That ignite on chance on hit is useless. The fire damage over time is fine. You'd probably rather have like vitality there or something because we're forced into it. The shield here, fire res, is really good on our shield, is to have actually a fire res, like exalted fire res, HP and block and stuff, so that we don't die. The ring here, Sun Wreath, this is really easy to get LP on, so getting fire res on it, HP on it would be great. And it essentially allows our Flame Reave to function as a pull or a clear. And also, of course, just gives us all the stats we'd want on this build because it gives us fire damage, fire res, fire damage over time. So this is just our best in slot ring. The belt here, eventually you'd have cooldown instead of that increased life there, so that our black hole was about at like a 4.5 second cooldown. I just did not have the luxury of that, but that's fine. So HP worked fine for now. At like this much cooldown, it's playable, but you definitely want to get the cooldown lower so your clear feels a lot better. And for the other ring, of course, fire res, ruby ring with damage over time. This is like pretty much your perfect ring, to be honest, something close to this. Then for gloves here, fire res, wherever we can shove it, right? HP, damage over time. Eventually, that could be like intelligence or strength or whatever. Then the boots here, cooldown recovery speed, so we can spam our black holes, movement speed, HP. You want the Solarum Greave space, of course, because guess what? It has fire res. Then we grab, an elemental damage over time relic with plus levels to black hole. As you can tell, I didn't get to +2, which was sad. The LE dot would have been great there instead of healing effectiveness. The endurance, so that we're a little bit tankier. and then of course more res and stuff. That's like really the problem with this build is you're always arguing with your resistances and stuff, trying to balance them while also getting as much fire res as much as possible. This is one of the first times in last Epoch history where stacking a res this hard gives you so much damage, meaning that you're always in this fight between you and your gear, between trying to get as much fire as possible while also not making a complete twig of a character. So, with all that being said, this has been Dread. Off to go do something else. Bye.